Black woman. Beautiful, powerful, resilient female of African descent with skin kissed by the sun. Conversation. A talk, especially an informal one between two or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. We love being Black women. Black women are ambitious. Black women are confident. Black women are diligent. We are tenacious. We walk out of our houses put together. We are many shades and personalities of fabulous. But we as Black women don't talk about our dilemmas, current events, and what's going on every day that affects us. So, we created this podcast as a way to laugh together, cry together, and have an open conversation about life as Black women.
Oh, that's deep. Black Women Conversations.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Janine.
How's your week been?
It's been fabulous. I've been on vacation. So I've been doing absolutely nothing except for, it's been Harrison's vacation, right? So we went to the beach and he fed the little, whatever they are, seagulls or whatever. They're not seagulls. Whatever those birds are that's like always trying to eat at the beach. We fed those. He went running to the water. Thank God I had his little like life vest on. Because I mean, homeboy like, pew, took off to the water as soon as we got out there. And he wasn't scared of the water. I mean, it wasn't like he was like, oh, it's cold. No, he was like, let me get in this water. So we went to the beach one day, and then we also went to Old MacDonald's Zoo. No. Old MacDonald's Farm. Not zoo. I felt like it was a zoo because you got all these animals that you can go inside of each cage and pet, and you can feed the goats and the sheep, and you can feed the horses and the cows. And so Harrison had a blast. You can ride on the little train around Old MacDonald's Farm. It was cute.
Did you all feed the animals?
Yes, my mom actually fed the animals out of her hands. My mom was raised on a farm, so she was like, oh, let me go ahead and stick my hand out. And she was like, these sheep are greedy. They're just greedy. I'm like, well, you came into their cage with a whole bag of feed, so that's how they gotta eat. They gotta eat. Harrison wanted to go in. He wanted to pet the rabbits. He pet the rabbits. He wanted to go in the hog pen. I was like, oh yeah, no, the buck stops here. We're not going in there. They stink.
Like the hogs like you have at the fair?
Yeah.
Like 4-H hogs.
Yeah. So there were 3 hogs in the pen. You can go inside the pen and pet any of these pets, any of these animals. So I was like, we're not going to go pet a hog. You can go in the cage with the tortoise. Yeah.
They're all like prickly and hard and bristly. Like that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, and they were huge. We weren't going in there. No. He was trying to go in there. No, we're not. We're going to look at them from the fence.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that one. I draw the line too. I love animals. I love big animals. I'll pet a cow or horse, all that. But birds and pigs, yeah. Unless we're getting a little teeny pig that it's going to follow me around like Wilbur, I'm not interested.
They still stink. I mean, they're like the stinkiest animals on the farm. They stink.
If they're outdoors. But sometimes people have domestic pigs now.
Who domesticates pigs?
A lot of people.
Nope.
Yeah, I'll stick with dogs, but I still love animals. I love all of the petting, feeding of the animals, as long as they're well behaved. Like let me be honest, I like the domestic animals, even the semi-domestic animals. I guess that's what you call it. I'm not sure if that's really a term, but the animals that are captive, but they're still a little bit wild. Like they're not in your house.
Yeah, no, Like sometimes I look at Sophie and I was like, who was the fool that decided to domesticate dogs? Like who was that person? Like somebody decided to domesticate dogs and cats, and now this is just like a social norm here, right? But I have to remember, Sophie is a dog. I have to remind my husband, I love Sophie to death, but she's a dog, right? We got to clean up after. It's like a forever child that can get super dirty every time it goes outside.
Now, see, I'm very different because I have now a sling to carry my dog around in. My dogs also have a stroller. And, I don't have kids, so I'm not going to say that they're Yeah, I'm going to say they're my fur babies.
Well, Sophie is a fur baby. Sophie has a stroller as well, and she has a carrier.
See?
She does. But
So
now that
you like domestic dogs, no?
I like I said, I love Sophie, but there are some days I look up and I'm like, who decided to like we domesticate our dogs because it's just like a thing, right? Oh, they're cute, they're furry, and we can cuddle with them and they need us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somebody decided to domesticate them. And then somebody decided, oh, let's make other breeds. Let's create breeds. Let's like interbreed these people and create not people. They think they're people. Sophie thinks she's a person. But let's interbreed and let's, create Yoshans, which is what Sophie is, a Bichon Frise mixed with Yorkie, Let's create other breeds because they look cute together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, I'm a little hesitant about these designer breed dogs because I had a dog, loved her to death, Luca. She was the sweetest dog, and she was a pinwheeler. Now let's imagine what a pinwheeler is. It's a Rottweiler and a miniature pinscher mixed together, right? Mm-hmm. But she was the cutest, sweetest dog, but she had so many health problems. So the whole making a designer breed, I don't really know how I feel about that. But I do know if I could take all the puppies in it, I would take all the puppies in. Like if I could just have all the dogs around me all the time and have the means to take care of them all, I 100% would do that. It's kind of like a replacement for kids. Like, you know how you're saying, like, I don't know who decided to domesticate dogs and cats. I'm like, who said that it was a social norm to have all these babies? That's how I feel about it.
But that's how the population continues, right?
So the population continues when said couple has 1 or 2 babies, right? They replenish themselves on the earth. Not when you have like 10.
Y'all don't listen to Janine. I'm in the business of baby making. I want you to have as many babies as you want to have. Come on and let me take care of them.
And Janine is in the business of making money. Psych, I'm playing. That makes me sound depressed. But no, realistically, it's like, yeah, if you would like to have the babies, please be Team Nicole and have all the babies you want. I'm just saying over here, that just ain't the calling that Janine was given. She's not in the baby making business.
I just feel like kids eventually they grow up, they become more independent. Dogs never grow up. They never become independent. You always have to take care of them. The only difference is their life expectancy is a lot shorter. That's it.
Okay. It sounds like a win-win to me. And the other difference is if you, for whatever reason, realize that you can no longer take care of your child, you have to go through courts and paperwork and systems and all of that, right? If you decide that you can no longer take care of your animal, you can surrender it 100% legally at a local shelter. Now, don't be dropping your dogs off and your cats off on the side of the road because that is illegal. And we do not condone that kind of behavior. But you can drop it off at a shelter so that someone else, like myself, can give it a loving home until it decides to go be in puppy heaven.
If you have a baby, you can surrender that. You can drop it off at a safe house as well. A baby.
2 years.
Correct. And if you decide that you cannot take care of your child, you can give your kids up for adoption as well.
And the paperwork and the stigma and all of that, that's a lot. That's a lot.
You still got a stigma of people that give their dogs away or they drop their dog. There's a stigma behind that too.
If you drop your dog off on the side of the road, you deserve the stigma. But if you're just saying, you know what, this is not I cannot provide the best environment for this dog for it to flourish, then I think that that's the responsible thing to do, to give it to a shelter so that someone like you and I can adopt them and give them a nice, happy home.
So what did you do this week, Janine?
I did it a lot. So I feel like now that you've gone on vacation, my story is a broken record. So yeah, somewhere around this week, I gave you a call and said, hey, Nicole, I'm sitting at home again because I've been exposed yet again. So let me take a moment to thank God and Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett and all of the people who made the Moderna vaccine. And she's the one that I remember because she is a Black woman, right? But let me tell you this. I would like to thank everybody that was involved, especially the good Lord above, because my vaccine, if nothing else, has been tested. Please let me let you know I have been exposed to COVID numerous times, as I have shared on this podcast. One time that I've been exposed, the person who exposed me has since passed away. So I am very, very grateful. And I hope that moving forward, I do not have to test the efficacy of my vaccine. So y'all go get vaccinated. And that's all we're going to talk about COVID because we talk about this a lot, but go get vaccinated. Okay.
Well, I will add this. The CDC director yesterday said, I heard what the FDA said. I heard what they said, but I said what I said. And if you are 65 or older or you're a frontline worker, go get your booster. Go on and get your booster is what she said. And I was here for it. I was like, yes, I'm going to go get my booster right now because I'm over 8 months out. Yes.
Yes, but you did say, I believe it was last episode, maybe it was a couple episodes ago, but you did say that when the booster was available, you were going to get it no matter what they said because you felt like it was just a great safety precaution.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to expose yourself and get COVID. No.
I agree. And we said that we weren't going to talk about this anymore, but there is one article that I read that said that Johnson & Johnson is suggesting a booster that will give you up to 94% protection.
They need to come on out with that.
I was about to say, so maybe the people who have had Johnson & Johnson, including my best friend, maybe y'all should go get on that booster train. Just saying.
Just saying. All right, Janine. So what's on your timeline this week?
Okay, so a lot has happened this week. And Nicole, you know that you and I had a difficult time trying to figure out what it was that we were going to talk about, right? So everything from the border to weird sentence discrepancies between Black women and white women. I mean, let me tell you, we have seen all of the stories that you have sent us and all of the letters that you have sent us, and we're prioritizing at this point. So we're not ignoring you. Continue to send us stories and letters. We really appreciate it. But this week, we decided to talk about something that continues to come to the forefront. And oftentimes we don't talk about this, right? And the media is criticized about this, and it really affects Black women specifically. So here we go. So earlier this week, a friend in our head, Joy Reid, who is on MSNBC, caught flack for calling out missing white woman syndrome. And she called it out amid the heightened attention that the Gabby Petito case has been receiving. So she caught flack because critics were saying, and by critics, we will say that Fox News was at the top of this critic list, but critics were saying that she was being, quote, dismissive of the case because she wanted to make it about race. But really, it's not about race. And it seems that the reason why the critics were so vocal about this is because, like you always say, Nicole, a hit dog will holler. So let's start from what missing white woman syndrome actually is. So missing white woman syndrome is an actual term that is used, and it was coined by the late legendary journalist Gwen Ifill. And she coined this term to refer to the disproportionate media coverage that missing white women receive, specifically upper middle class missing white women, compared to missing women of color and people that are of lower social class and missing men and young boys. So this was coined around the same time as the Laci Peterson case. I'm sure we all remember the Laci Peterson case where we sat and watched as this unfolded across national news. And so basically it was showing us again that, you know, while there could be Black and brown people that are missing, the news will always point to the missing white woman. So when white women go missing, the media likes to portray them as sweet, innocent girl next door. Whereas when it's an African-American or a person of color, they like to give it a crazy slant and focus on some of the victim's problems and the troubles that they might have faced in the past, abusive relationships, family issues, things of that nature. So now that we know exactly what missing white woman syndrome is, let's go back to Joy Reid's initial comments. She was reporting about the Gabby Petito story, right? Because that has been what has been all over our news. She's been plastered all over the national news, right? But there are some stories that we haven't heard of, like the stories of Jelani Day. And that's what she was bringing up. So quickly, if you don't already know, which you should, but if you don't, I'm going to go over Gabby's case really quickly. Gabby is a 22-year-old pharmacy tech from New York who was living with her fiance, Brian, and his parents in his parents' Florida home. The couple went on what was supposed to be 4-month-long cross-country van excursion in July. They documented most of their trip on both YouTube and IG. And a little over a month into the trip, on August 12th, a witness called 911 because of a domestic disturbance. The domestic disturbance was between Gabby and Brian. This happened when the couple had reached Utah, right? So the police came and they characterized the event as a mental or emotional health incident rather than a domestic violence incident, and no charges were filed. On August 24th, Gabby's mother received her last FaceTime call from Gabby, and her last IG post was made the following day on August the 25th. Though her mother did continue to receive text messages through August the 30th, her mother suspects that the text messages weren't necessarily from Gabby. On September the 1st, Gabby's fiance, Brian, returned back to the residence where they were staying with his parents in their Florida home, but Gabby was not with him. On September the 11th, the Petito family filed a missing persons report. Gabby's body was found in Wyoming on September 19th. The cause of death was ruled a homicide, and her fiance, who is now wanted by the FBI, has been missing since the 14th. Okay, so now that we've heard all about this story, here are some of the stories that we don't know about, right? Or haven't heard as much about. The story of Daniel Robinson, the story of Lauren Cho, the story of Jelani Day. So Daniel Robinson, a 24-year-old geologist from South Carolina who was last seen leaving his job site in Arizona on June the 23rd. He was reported missing that same day. The authorities in this case say that there is no evidence of foul play. Daniel's family had to hire a private investigator. And on July the 19th, the police were notified that Daniel's Jeep was found less than 5 miles from where his job site was, right? Inside of his Jeep, or near his Jeep, the clothes that he was last seen wearing were also found. So the private investigator that his family hired, examined the black box data from Daniel's Jeep and found that the vehicle had been in multiple crashes. So it had crashed a couple of times, and it was driven 10 miles after the initial crash. But if you recall what I just said, the vehicle was only found 5 miles away from where he was last seen. So on July 31st, a human skull was found, and, it was very close in proximity to where Daniel's vehicle was found, but it was determined that it did not belong to Daniel. They found his vehicle and his clothes, but there's no trace of Daniel. Daniel's family is still waiting on answers. The police gave his family a theory that he might have stripped down naked and gone into the woods on a journey to become a monk. It sounds ludicrous because it is. Story of Lauren Cho. She is a 30-year-old Asian woman who moved from New Jersey to California, and she seemed to have disappeared out of the clear blue. Like she just went missing. She, like Gabby, joined one of her friends on a cross-country trip to move to California. She and her friend were out in their van or whatever, and for a reason, she got upset and walked away on June the 28th at approximately 3 p.m., according to reports. Her friend notified authorities a little after 5. She hasn't been seen since. The police claim that they are actively searching for her, although they believe that she's missing voluntarily. So if she's missing voluntarily, are we actively searching for her? Lauren's family is also still looking for answers. Last, and probably the most notable of these cases that have kind of gone under the radar, is Jelani Day. Jelani Day was a 25-year-old on his way to becoming a doctor. He disappeared from the campus of Illinois State University on August the 24th. 2 days after his disappearance, his car was found about an hour away from where he resided. He too, just like Daniel, his clothes that he was wearing were also found at the scene. 9 days later, on September the 4th, a body was found in the Illinois River based on a tip that authorities received. The body was not confirmed to be Jelani Day's body until September the 23rd, almost 3 weeks after the body was discovered. They claim that the cause of death is still under investigation and his mother is demanding answers. So Joy brought this up, saying that these stories were not getting as much attention as the missing white girl per usual. which she received crazy amounts of backlash. She was called dismissive, and people said that, they were questioning her journalistic integrity. People also kind of tried to say there's no such thing as missing white girl syndrome. That was on Monday. Then Friday night, we found out that 9-time Grammy-nominated platinum recording artist and actress, by the way, Kelly Price, had been reported missing for almost a week before we even heard about it in the news. Her story was broken by TMZ. It didn't even make national cable news. And then we were reminded in the worst way of just how accurate Joy Reid and Gwen Ifill almost 20 years ago were about missing white woman syndrome. It's often difficult for the media to bring humanity to these kinds of stories, right? Especially when it's someone who is Black or brown. There are unfortunately way too many stories of missing people. Some hundreds of thousands of people go missing a year. Missing white woman syndrome is not trying to diminish the attention that white women are receiving when they go missing. It's just saying, much like the Black Lives Matter movement, that we need to focus the same amount of attention on missing people of color, both Black and brown, and men, same as women, when someone goes missing, and not just highlight the cases of missing white women.
The Jelani Day case and the Daniel case, what remind me where these two cases took place?
Jelani's case, he was in Illinois, and Daniel's case was in Arizona.
Okay, the only reason I asked that was because both of them had the clothes found in the car. I'm like, okay,
sounds very similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's
a little serial killer.
They are sounding a little serial killer-ish. Like people are going and hunting down these Black men, stripping them up all their clothes, and then discarding their bodies somewhere. But Arizona and Illinois, that's sort of kind of a distance to be around the same time. Not impossible, but it is sort of a distance. But it's like, why are these men missing their clothing? And the whole story about Daniel, like just leaving naked in the woods to become a monk. Aren't there places that people become monks? Absolutely. Like, did they go and search those places? I'm just saying, like, you don't just set up in the woods to become a monk.
And not even in the woods. It's in the desert. You know how hot the desert gets?
Listen, I don't understand these people.
And do you have enough food and water? And why would that be your first assumption when you're seeing a car wreck? Like if you saw the vehicle that was found and then you've received the black box that said it's been in multiple crashes, why would your first assumption be that he decided to strip down and go into the desert to become a monk? That makes no sense to me. It's not even logical.
That's not logical at all. I don't know why they even brought that theory up. That just doesn't make any sense. And you're right. I mean, everybody knew about the Gabrielle Petito case. Jelani Day, I still haven't seen anything on the news about Jelani Day. Everything I've seen about Jelani, including the fact that his body was confirmed, was on social media. It wasn't on mainstream news. So I still think that that's telling. Hundreds of thousands of other people still missing that no one is giving any national attention to. I mean, can we start local? I mean, can we even give it local attention? It's discouraging. Doing the research for this episode was very, very discouraging. I mean, there are cases that are still missing from the 60s that no one gave attention then, and they're still not giving attention now. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, it's a good time to be a Black woman. It's a good time to be Black. You're the prettiest girl at the prom right now. It's a good time to be Black, but it's not a good time to be Black and go missing, okay? Because people are going to ignore the fact that you were even there. They're going to go on, per usual, carry on about their day. And so it is not a good time to go missing and be Black, especially not a missing Black woman.
I agree. And I think that the part that's really frustrating to me personally is that, you know, when it's a white person, specifically a young white girl, they try to bring such humanity to her, right? They give these stories of, you know, her being playful and attractive, and they make her appear innocent and virtuous, right? But then when it's a Black woman specifically, or a Black or brown woman, they try to deduce us to statistics, right? They dig up every possible negative factor that could have possibly contributed to the reason why we are missing. And then they kind of try to dismiss it as somehow being our fault. that's really the part that bothers me, because I can't imagine the trauma that people face when someone in their family goes missing, but then to have the authorities have this underlying disbelief because of the color of their skin, it just does something to me that I can't describe. This is not new. I remember when I was working in radio in Philadelphia and LaToya Figueroa went missing, and the father of her unborn child, who eventually was convicted of her murder, would come to the station and beg and plead for us to help us find LaToya. Her father would come and ask, to help us find his daughter. And I remember it being so powerful because we were a radio station was the only news outlet at the time that was covering it. And at the same time, Natalee Holloway was happening. It was plastered everywhere. I mean, it was a victory for her family when the local news picked up her story. And then it only became national news when her father started speaking out about the fact that, they're investigating Natalee Holloway, but his daughter is missing right in our city and no one is paying attention to it. And I think that that's the first time that I was aware of the disparity between the way that the media covers a missing white woman and the way that the media covers everybody else when they go missing.
Yeah, girl, I just, bringing that up, I literally just found out about LaToya Figueroa doing the research for this show, because I was like, oh, there was somebody else that went missing when Natalee Holloway went missing. And I'm not going to say that it's all white women that go missing that the media picks up. I don't understand how the media picks and chooses which stories to follow to the end. Just like the Casey Anthony case. Why her? There's thousands of women that kill their kids every year. I'm just saying, but why her? So I don't really know why there's certain stories that the media picks up with missing white women compared to even other missing white women. But I know that what's been consistent is they ain't picking up black women. I don't know. You know more about the media than me, Janine.
So normally everyone likes to say that it's about, connections and socioeconomic status. That's what people like to point to specifically so that they can pretend like the media is not being racist. But that's not the case, right? Because if it's about socioeconomic status, then we would have heard about Kelly Price before, because technically she's more famous, more wealthy than Gabrielle Petito. So while I understand the argument that it's more about socioeconomic status and connection than it is about race, this particular week has shown us that that's not the case, right? Because socioeconomic status, Kelly Price had a higher status than Gabrielle Petito. Kelly Price was more well-known and probably more well-connected than Gabrielle Petito. But we didn't hear about her being missing for almost a week, right? But we heard about Gabrielle Petito as the case was unfolding. It's very, very interesting. Sometimes they like to say it's about their promise in life, right? Well, she's a pharmacy tech. And then we have Jelani Day, who is a graduate student and an aspiring doctor. That also debunks. Oh, really, Nicole? I don't know why the media does this. The only thing that I know is that for us in the media, generally, it's about what is going to garner the most attention to your platform. So if the missing white girl is going to garner the most attention, and that's what people continue to pay attention to, and that's what people continue to rally around, that's what they're going to report. Unfortunately, I don't have any other explanation than that. I wish I did. I wish there was some sort of logical theory behind the reason why the media does this. But really, I think that the country just likes to rally around white women more than they care about us. Unfortunately, think that the country shows us that time and time again, and the media just goes along with what the country enjoys.
It's so sad, I have to admit. It's sad, but it's true. Well, as much as I really don't want to talk about this, Janine, I guess we have to talk through some letters from our listeners.
This one says, Nicole and Janine, I know you all don't normally do crime type stuff, but I wanted to share the story of my classmate and friend, Daphne Jones. Daphne and I went to Banneker together. When we graduated, she went to the University of New Orleans, and I stayed home and went to UDC. Daphne was getting ready to move back home to the DMV, but in 1999, she vanished after Grandma Ethel had just dropped her off. Everything about her disappearance was odd. It just didn't make sense, especially not the way that I know Daphne. Here's a link to her story if you'd like to read it. Her mom and dad and Grandma Ethel never gave up hope that Daphne would return, and neither have I. They have all since passed away, and I would like to help her sister continue the search for answers. What can I do to help? And my bigger question is, how do we get more attention on our missing Black and brown women? I know I'm asking a lot, but I'd love to hear what you all have to say.
So this one hits home because I feel like anybody that went to college in Louisiana, I'm like, man, and being from Louisiana, I'm like, why did I not hear about this? I mean, 1999, I was in high school. I would have been old enough to have heard about this. She went to UNO. Her grandma dropped her off. I'm assuming at college, her grandma dropped her off and she went missing.
Her grandma she had moved off of campus at her apartment while she was going to college, essentially.
Yeah. So it's like, why in Louisiana did I not hear about this? Being from Louisiana, I'm in Texas right now. That's right next door. And I understand that it's been a long time. You got people that have come and gone since that time, but we haven't heard about this. What can you do and what can we do? I think the only thing we can do is continue to be active and post about these stories on social media, email your local and national news outlets. I would constantly email them. And, you know, Janine was asking me earlier about another situation. Like if Stacy, who's my sister, went missing, what would you have on your social media? Everything. Like my social media would just be Stacy. Like I would not be consumed about anything except for Stacy. Pregnancy Pearls with Dr. Plenty would be recording about Stacy every week. Okay. All of Pregnancy Pearls would have Stacy posts and reminders and hints and clues. And I would be asking you guys for clues and I would be asking you to share it on your platforms and share it on your social media. And I think that's the only thing that we can do. There is an organization that I ran across that is dedicated to putting information out there about missing Black women. I can't remember the organization off the top of my head, Black and Missing Foundation. But the thing I have about that organization is it puts information together. And so you can go to the site to see who are the Black and missing women, but it doesn't give you a lot of detail. And it's not putting things out to social media outlets or to news outlets. So it's not like this organization is running ads on social media, which it should be doing to get more exposure to these missing women. It's not like they're linked to a radio show or a talk show or America's Most Wanted or, you know, Missing and Abducted that could get these names out here. And perhaps there should be some type of collaboration that's formed so that these news outlets can have access to all of these missing people. And so it's not just hidden on this website. That's the problem I have with the website. I think it's good. It's a good start. I think it's great to actually have the information compiled, but it doesn't tell us what's happened and developed in the case as time has gone on. It's a picture of the person. Sometimes it has a time age picture. It has the name, the date of birth, when the person went missing, and what's going, like the case number. And that's pretty much all it has. So there needs to be some type of like partnership that organizations like that form with other platforms. We can be using influencers to help spread the word on this as well. So what can you do? Make noise, honey. All you can do is make noise, share it on your platforms, have more people. The more people that share it, the more likely media outlets are to pick it up. And so I would constantly share it, because this is a cold case that we could bring back to light, and that somebody may be feeling a little guilty could all of a sudden have information that they didn't want to share then that they now have on their conscience to share now.
First of all, thank you for sharing the story. I, too, like you, Nicole, feel like, how did I not see this? I went to high school in D.C., not far away from Banneker. I went to college in New Orleans. And yeah, I didn't get to New Orleans until 2001, but you would think that I would have heard about this because she's literally right from my backyard. And until our listener shared this story, I had no idea of the Daphne Jones story. None whatsoever. You know, unfortunate part is she went missing before the rise of social media, right? So now, thankfully, we have this tool. You know, social media can be a blessing and a curse, but in these kinds of cases, social media is so important. So if we share these stories, so like right now, as Joy Reid has said, this is missing white woman syndrome. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see people question, well, what did happen to Daniel, or what did happen to Lauren, or what did happen to Jelani? That's how you can help make a difference. Share the story. Continue to use your platform, no matter how large or small it may be, to share these kinds of stories so that someone can see them and share it, and then the media will pick it up. And then hopefully that'll help us find more answers for more families, so that families are not specifically Black and brown families are not continuing to go through this kind of trauma from not knowing what has happened to their loved ones. We have to remember, right? The way that we get out of most of these situations is not because we rely on other people to help us. It's because we galvanize our community, and our community helps to save ourselves. So yeah, it might not be getting national attention, but reach out to your local papers, your local radio stations, your local podcasts, whatever it is, whatever platform you can get access to, gain access to those kinds of platforms and share these kinds of stories so that more people are hearing about them. And then maybe someone shares the story and they have some information or it triggers their memory, and they can then give you some tips to help us bring our missing Black and brown family members home. And then, you can help try to get answers by contacting the New Orleans Police Department and just seeing where they are with the case. Periodically contact them and see if the case is still open, or if they've had any tips or updates since the last time you've contacted them. And, maybe if you can raise money to possibly get a private investigator, or see if there are some other people that can help you. There are people that make it their life's mission to solve cold cases. So maybe reach out to them. And one of the things that I'd like to point out about the Black and Missing Foundation, Nicole, is they do share information on social media, right? So they do have a social media platform, and it has 32,000 followers, but they post the information of when people are missing and oftentimes when they're found, right? So a couple of things that I'd like to point out about this. The Black and Missing Foundation is a nonprofit. So they rely on grants and donors so that they can keep the operation moving. So if you are concerned about the Black and missing, donate to the Black and Missing Foundation so that they can get more people on staff, and that they can get the information out there so that we are getting more national news coverage, and we are not just sitting back and waiting for someone to come knock on our door and say, hey, is your daughter missing? This kind of foundation is where we should be donating our money. When you see a problem, oftentimes our Caucasian brethren like to throw money at it. Well, let us throw our money at these kinds of foundations so that they can give us more information. And then also, one of the things I'd like to point out also, Nicole, is they can only report the information that they're given. So if the authorities are not paying attention to these cases and investigating these cases, how is it that any foundation is going to find out any information or post any information about it? Because no one is taking it seriously. And that's part of the problem. Hold the authorities accountable.
All right. So my letter reads, Nicole and Janine, I'm so glad you ladies are discussing this important topic. In light of the Gabrielle Petito case, I think it's a shame that Jelani Day didn't get the attention he deserved. But I think it's even more shameful that Black women never get attention. Like, why is no one talking about the two women who went missing in Texas? Ashley Guillory has been missing since September 4th, 2021 from Houston, and Sydney Palmer has been missing from Dallas since September 8th. I live in Texas and haven't seen an inkling of coverage. Why do Black women not get any attention? I think it's good that Jelani did, but he's a man. When are Black women going to have our time? How can we make the justice system more accountable for investigating these types of cases?
Forgive me, I have no information about these cases. So can you just give me a quick synopsis of what happened?
So Sydney Palmer went missing from Dallas, Texas on September 8th, right? A couple weeks ago. And the only information after Googling, looking on social media, the only thing I could find is that she is 26. She's a Black female. She weighs 100 pounds, and she was last seen in the 1200 block of East 10th Street at 6:30 a.m. and the circumstances of her disappearance are unknown. That's it. That's all we know. We know a little bit more information about the Ashley Guillory case because her husband has been very vocal in trying to find her, but still there's not much information. We know that she's been missing since September 4th. She is 5'5". She weighs 140 pounds. She disappeared she's 37, and she was driving a black 2004 Toyota Camry 4-door sedan. And the case is believed to have some type of foul play, but that's all we know. So again, according to social media, it's limited. According to what the families are putting out there in published articles, it has a lot of emotional sentiment in these articles, but there's not a lot of details like why do we suspect foul play and what was she doing when she was last seen? Who was she with? I mean, so there's a lot of details. Even reading the article that I'm like, who wrote this and why did they not ask a lot more questions? There's a clip of her husband crying, saying that he's still waiting for his wife to come home and he believes that she'll come home. But you know how some of those things turn out. Like the person crying hardest has something.
Yep.
Right. So there's not a lot. And so the person that sent us this letter is right. Like, why am I in Texas, in Houston, and I don't know anything about either one of these cases, especially the case that Ashley Guillory that went missing in a suburb of Houston. Like that hasn't been on any local news. And I've literally been watching local news every day because of all the hurricane coverage. I watched a live pursuit of somebody that stole a car yesterday, but there was nothing about missing Ashley Guillory. Nothing.
And honestly, Nicole, like I said before about the last letter, we control as much of the news cycle as it's ever been, as I would venture to say, right? So if no one is posting these stories on social media and we aren't galvanizing around these families to get the stories out there, unfortunately, there really isn't anything that we can expect. We can't expect our fair-skinned brethren who have the propensity for narcissism to pay attention to us. We have to pay attention to us. We have to share our stories. And unfortunately, we would love to say that the media is going to be fair, but we know that's not the case, right? And then also we have to think there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only a 24-hour news cycle. And there's also so much going on. I mean, this week we were bombarded with not only the Petito case, but we were also bombarded with the story of the border. So there's so much going on. The best thing that we can do is share our stories. And there actually are a couple of a true crime podcasts that share these stories. Most of them share the story after we have the not so happy ending. Let's try to share these stories, and we'll try to do a better job of this as well, of sharing these stories that affect us. We just have to keep it in the forefront as much as we possibly can.
I feel like I can say this because I'm Black, you Black, but we've got to do a better job, okay? The Sidney Palmer case, because trying to find information to even tell you guys about on this podcast is hard. Like, you go on social media, and she obviously has an uncle that is a journalist. He posted something on September 15th. Now, the girl went missing. We already said she went missing, on the 8th. Like, why does it take a whole week for you to post something? Like, and then don't tag any other families, so we can't go and figure out who they were. Like, y'all need to stop privatizing your pages. If somebody's going missing, your page needs to be public. You need to tag everybody and their mama on it so it can be spread throughout all of their pages. And then you need to give something a little bit more than, hey, she was last seen on 10th Street of Dallas near the Dallas Zoo. We need more information than that. If you don't care, how do you expect for everybody else to care? If you stop talking about it, it's one post. One. If you stop talking about it, then why are you criticizing the media for not talking about it? You're not making enough noise. We can't even find enough content to make sure it's a legit story. You're the uncle. Where the parents? Where's the sisters? Where's the brother? And you have a video clip showing somebody stapling a missing poster up to a pole. What about somebody speaking about who she was and how she acts and who her friends are? Where are her friends talking about this? Are they looking too? Were they with her? Like, we need a little bit more detail so people can do all these TikToks and do all these things on social media for entertainment. But then when somebody in your family goes missing, you don't think it's your due diligence to actually put the information out there. And then you want to criticize, like, nobody's talking about my missing, brother or sister or niece or daughter. Well, you're not talking about it either.
I agree 100%. We have to save ourselves. And we say this time and time again. No, it's not fair. We understand that it's not fair, but we have to do what we can until things get better.
Right. These missing people honestly should have their own. They should have their own Facebook page. They should have their own landing page so people can submit information that they may find to them. So then you can turn that over to authorities. How do you make the justice system more accountable for investigating the cases? You go up there every day and ask them what they've done. You send them leads to follow. And then you ask them, have they followed up the leads that you sent them? But if you're not sending them any leads, if you're not asking them about the case, out of sight is out of mind. Y'all need to be like Jelani Day's mama. I mean, she was making her own news, as she should. Everybody needs to go out and make people accountable like she made them accountable. I'm not saying that we should have to do this. We shouldn't have to do this. But if there's like a whole hundreds of thousands of people, the person that screams the loudest is going to get the most attention. So you have to be persistent in this. And this is whether you black, white, yellow, blue. You have to be persistent in this to make sure that the justice system is held accountable. And like Janine said, Gabrielle was already putting herself out there on her journey. She was already out and about. That's how somebody said, well, we saw them and the fiance actually was beating her. That's how they knew that, because they were like, oh, well, she's chronicling and she seems real happy. But realistically, there was something going on behind closed doors. She wasn't all that happy because she was chronicling everything that was going on. Okay. She was documenting and videoing everything that was going on. So when the video stopped, her family had evidence that said, hey, listen, the videos have stopped. What's going on? Okay. And not saying to put all your business out there on social media, but when something doesn't make sense, it's time to start creating platforms for ourselves to create an avenue to get our information out there. Like my mama, oh, I don't do Instagram. I bet if I came up missing, she'd have an Instagram page.
Bet you she would.
Bet you she would.
But here's the other thing, though, Nicole. I think that I'd like to go back to something that you mentioned briefly. We can put ourselves on social media for the purposes of entertainment, for the purposes of our side hustle, for the purposes of, making money or becoming famous. If we are going to get these platforms and garner this kind of following, if you have, 1,000 followers or more, even if you have a couple hundred followers or 20 followers, if you have any people that follow and pay attention to your social media and you post content of any kind, if there's something that is important, like a missing person or, some sort of injustice, please use that same platform that you've built to bring attention to it. We can't just use these platforms to be famous and to get notoriety and to make a couple of dollars and not use it for social good as well.
So, Janine, what did you learn new this week?
So, unfortunately, I think that I was naive to the amount of people that go missing. And I know that I've mentioned it a couple times, but here's some exact numbers. And this is actually from the Black and Missing Foundation. So in 2020, of the 268,884 women and girls that were reported missing, and these are the people who were reported missing. Let's be clear that people go missing and unreported all the time as well. Of the 268,884 people that were women and girls that were reported missing, 90,333, approximately 34% of those were Black. Yet we only account for 15% of the population. Let that sink in. 34% of them were Black women or children, but we only account for 15% of the population. So
I saw those stats too, Janine, and I was astounded by them. The thing that made me a little bit more eerie is that during the pandemic alone, the number of Black and Latina women doubled without any increase in media coverage at all.
And that goes to show you how much the country really values us. They value the proximity to us, but they don't value us.
All right. So I guess we need a motivational moment.
Absolutely. This has been hard. This has really been hard.
This has been a hard episode. I definitely will say that. And just reading about it, once you start looking at these missing cases, you cannot stop reading about them. And you want to sit and go, at least I do, want to sit and Google and figure out like what's going on. And the things that fascinate me the most are the super old cases. Right?
Absolutely. And the circumstances surrounding them, because some of them seem like they should have been open and shut. But before you do the motivational moment, I would like to actually point out two things. One that we've already mentioned, Black and Missing Foundation. If you all have any extra money, please go and donate to the Black and Missing Foundation. Also, there's another foundation. That I think is super, super important that we might have to have another episode about this. We did not mention the number of Indigenous women and children and people, I should say, that go missing every year. I mean, those numbers, if you're astounded by the numbers that Nicole and I just mentioned, the numbers of Indigenous people that go missing each year, I mean, it is astounding. So if you have extra money and you can donate, also donate to Not Our Native Daughters Foundation. So those two organizations are on the front lines of bringing attention to the BIPOC community that goes missing. So Black and Missing Foundation and Not Our Native Daughters Foundation, please go and donate to them.
All right. Our motivational moment comes from Zora Neale Hurston. And she said, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. So we cannot stand in silence any longer. Let's make noise about these missing Black women until their stories receive the attention they deserve. Until we meet again.
Pray, work, slay.
And show off your melanated excellence. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, That's Deep, Black Women Conversations is produced by Nicole Lee Plenty and Janine Brunson Johnson. Executive producer, Ken Johnson. Get the Oh, That's Deep Black Women Conversation podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or where you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and rate us. You can follow Oh, That's Deep Black Women Conversations on IG at Oh, That's Deep BWC. Oh, That's Deep Black Women Conversations is a Mean Old Lion Media production.